Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report presented by Geico of Mobile, the first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I'm Butch Theory, and I'm joined today with co-host Captain Richard Rutland with Cold-Blooded Fishing. How are you doing today, Captain Blood?
What's shaking, Hoss? I'm just glad to be here. Got a rain day in today, so been getting a few things done around the house. Had to do a few errands, go to like the bank and stuff like that.
No
things
good.
Things I don't get to do on a regular basis. You know, been playing with some tackle and stuff. Had to fix a reel this morning for the week. You know, so anyway, I'm just glad to take a little breather there for a minute.
No doubt, weather days are not always a bad thing. I remember that from my deckhanding days.
I know. I'm looking at my schedule, and man, I've got like about 2.5 or 3 weeks of straight fishing. So I'll be praying for another rain day here for too long, I'm sure.
It's that time of year.
Yep. But
got to make hay while the sun shines.
Yeah. Well, man, at least sounds like fish are biting pretty good. For me, they've been biting well. Inshore fishing's been good. Looks like we had a fairly safe snapper season for everybody. I didn't hear of
I think I saw one picture of one boat over off the pass go down, but I didn't see a whole lot of stuff either. It seemed to be a little bit of bumpy. I think the weatherman got it a little bit wrong a couple of days.
Yeah, I know. Me and Corey Quint fished the snapper shootout down there at the island, and that was Saturday. And man, I'm gonna tell you what, it was pretty sporty. It did kind of the same thing Friday and Saturday. Friday morning, it was like blowing in the morning, and then the wind quit blowing, but I guess it was just enough at night to kick it up where it was kind of felt like the current was pushing against the wind. And man, it was sporty. I think it's sporty for everybody, you know, no matter what size boat you were in. I
agree with that, man. And it sounds like those guys had a good tournament down there, and it sounds like you and Corey had an even better tournament, man. Congratulations on your first place win.
Thank you. Yep. We cleaned that one up. We, of course, we're fishing out of the bay boat, so our range was a little limited. And then I think our spot we fished is about 11 or 12 miles outside of Billy Goat Hole. And so, we ran out and fished the ships. We did not get in any of the Calcuttas for red snapper. We were trying to go after fish the ling category real hard. Mm-hmm. And we got into one of the ling categories, and of course never caught a ling, and then of course catch the winning bag of snapper down there, you know. But
never fails. I can tell you that. You can bet across the board and leave one category out, and that's what you're going to clean up in. You know
I'll never forget this. I always like telling stories about my dad on here. One year he always told me about fishing the rodeo, and they used to always buy a king mackerel jackpot ticket, and always. Anywho, he said they were amberjack. I guess this year they didn't buy one, and they were amberjack fishing with a great big hardtail or something like that, and of course won king mackerel and didn't have a jackpot. Missed out on a little payday there, you know. I've still got his trophy here at the house, you know, from that rodeo. But anywho, it always never go that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Good deal, man. I'm glad y'all won it. That's fun.
Yep, I really, we got there, and of course we were leading. It was kind of early. I mean, we made it weighed in at 3 or 3:30, something like that, and the weigh-in went till 6. And I was like, oh, somebody else is going to come in here and get it. You know, both the Kennedys were still out, and Mike Ward, I think, was fishing, and a couple
some heavy hitters were yet to weigh in. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, I know. So I wasn't getting too giddy by any means, you know. And then sure enough, we ended up getting it. I don't know how, but
how big were they?
We had one that was 25.9, so just shy of 26, and then another that was 21 and some change. We had a 47.1 pound bag for 2 fish. So
that's a heck of a haul, man.
We didn't even really put that much effort into the snapper fish. I think we probably could have even done better than that if we'd have laid with it a little longer.
What'd y'all catch them on?
Live bait. We that was kind of part of my plan. Well, we went and cast netted first thing in the morning. Went over to Bayou La Battery, through the cast net, caught some real nice size, like finger mullet, and then big, you know, I don't know, 16, 18-inch mullet, and had those in the live well. And then we went out to the ship and we were ling fishing. There was only one ship out there south of the lighthouse. We sabiki rigged up probably, I don't know, 24 hardtails. And between the mullet and the hardtails, that's what we caught everything on.
Good deal, man. That's fun. A little something different for you. Stretch your legs a little bit.
That's right. You know me, I don't like doing the same thing too much.
No doubt. I like that for sure. All
But
right, man. Yeah, we're going to have a special guest on the show today, talk about a little tournament they're doing. I'm pretty excited to hear about it, to hear about the Eastern Shore Fly Fishers. Let's see what they're up to. All right, Noble Davidson is the president of the Eastern Shore Fly Fishers. Is that right, Noble? How we doing today?
Yep, that's right. Doing well, and appreciate you guys having me on today.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to come on and talk about this tournament that we're putting together specifically for fly fishermen and women of the Mobile Bay area. We are putting together an inaugural tournament specifically to target triple tail in the Mobile Bay area. We wanted to put together something that was conservation based, so we put together a tournament that's going to be no kill. It's a catch, tag, photo release tournament. So won't be bringing any fish in to weigh in, but anglers will use an app on their phone while they're out fishing to take photographs of the fish that they catch on a scale that'll be provided by the tournament. So to do that, we got together with the Gulf Coast Research Lab Center for Fisheries over at the University of Southern Mississippi, and they're going to be providing tagging kits and instructions to our anglers at the captain's meeting the day before. It's going to also benefit their tagging program that they've been having going on since 1995. They're going to, be able to continue doing that program and learn more about the fishery and kind of push some of that information over to the authorities to be able to continue to understand the fishery a little bit better and make regulation adjustments as necessary. So basically, anglers will register as teams of up to 3 anglers, and will be able to compete on the day from their boats and take the pictures of the fish and submit them online, where we'll have somebody back on the shore basically approving them as they go.
Is there like a website if people are like, that kind of sounds fun, I'll check that out? Is there a website with more information about how to participate, how to sign up? Is there like a central information location?
Yeah, the best thing to do is just go to www.easternshoreflyfishers.com. And on there's a tournament tab right at the top of the page that can take you to the webpage specific for this tournament. It has all the information, rules, how to register, etc.
Where is the captain's meeting on the 29th?
Yeah, so the captain's meeting and the tournament are going to be hosted out of the American Legion Post 199 right in downtown Fairhope. So the captain's meeting is going to be about a month from today. It's going to be on Friday, June 26th at 6:30 p.m. And at least one angler from every team needs to be present to be able to pick up your tagging kit and your scale and all of that. And then the fishing time will basically be all day Saturday. There'll be lines in the water at 8 a.m. and lines out of the water at 6 p.m. And then the award ceremony will be at 7 p.m. at the same location back at the American Legion. You can show up by boat, by car, however you want to show up. So
sweet, man. Awesome. I look forward to people checking that out. You guys check them out at easternshoreflyfishers.com. And we appreciate you being on, Noble.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I hope we can continue to kind of build the fly fishing community here in the area, and hopefully some people can get registered and win some really cool prizes. We got some great stuff.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to seeing how your catch tag photo release format goes. I think that's something we're going to see a lot of here in the future. Good job.
I absolutely hope so. Hope that more people realize that we can have a lot of fun fishing without having to kill fish. Not that there's anything wrong with a triple tail for dinner, because everybody knows how tasty they are, but we want to make sure that everybody in the future can do the same thing.
Absolutely agree, and we appreciate what you're doing, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
All right, man, let's go down to the onshore report. Let's see what Captain Dusty Hayes with Shore Thing Fishing's up to. What you say, Captain Dusty? What's been going on down in the Orange Beach surf?
Oh, man, it's been crazy down here. Lots of people and lots of fish. We've been catching a lot of everything, really. There's still some pompano being caught. I know a lot of the guys that are trying hard and heavy for the pomp stomp have been catching some decent fish, but most of their pompano are kind of spawned out for the most part. So there's definitely some long ones still, but not much girth left in any of the pompano. They're kind of on the skinnier side, so that you don't get much heavy weight. A lot of 1.5 to 2.5 pound fish that would have weighed a lot more, a month ago. But definitely some fish. A lot of whiting being caught, kind of everywhere, especially towards the west, though. Still some big black drums, still some, nice redfish, a few bulls. And this morning we actually ended up catching 3 14 to 16 inch fish, which is kind of rare, really. It's not something that we catch a whole lot of. It's usually the really big ones. But, yeah, we did get some nice redfish this morning. Ladyfish are showing up in force, as always, as expected in the summer. Ladyfish, hardtails. After this wind the past few days, we've had the dirty water and a little bit of rain. There's some catfish around, which is expected also. So, but if you go out there and weed through the ladyfish and catfish, there's definitely some pompano and redfish and whiting to be caught for sure.
Talk about redfish a little bit. Are you guys doing anything different for those redfish or the black drum and the whiting, or is it just the set rigs with Fishbites doing the trick?
Usually the set rigs for me will do it. I mean, you'll catch, like the ones we caught this morning were, Fishbites and shrimp, and I think we got one on a sand flea too, on a regular pompano rig. But if you're further west, like towards Fort Morgan area especially, there's some fish that are there all year round as far as, say a bigger red or a bull red. And a lot of times, we'll use different cut baits for them. Cut whiting is a great bait. Ladyfish works good. Mullet works good. A lot of different cut baits, kind of something different, something a little bigger, a little tastier for what those fish are looking for. And, the other thing on dealing with that, though, like if you go too big, a lot of times you're working at, hooking a lot of sharks and not as many redfish. And, you're going to have catfish and rays, but also it's no different than fishing shrimp, trying to catch one, because there's bycatch on either side of the fence. If you use shrimp and fish bites, you're looking at catching ladyfish and little whiting and whatever else may swim by. And if you're using cut bait, you're looking at possibly catching a shark or catching a big ray or, catfish, stuff like that. So that's just something else to expand your horizons. Basically, I'll usually do a couple of each, or if I got 3 set rods out with shrimp and sand fleas or whatever I'm using fish bites, I'll have one if I'm down to the west towards Fort Morgan with a cut bait on for maybe a big bull red.
I like it. Are you doing anything different, like as far as bait placement to try and target the redfish and things like that? I know the whiting are super duper close, right? They're way up in, 5 yards usually.
Yeah, absolutely. We're catching some whiting out further, but most of them are very, very close up to the shoreline. Like I said, when you're fishing further down west, like towards Fort Morgan, the sandbar down there is very close. So like you have whiting in that little trough up close, but you can easily cast over that sandbar, when you're closer to the west, like say Gulf Shores all the way down to Fort Morgan. And what I mean by Gulf Shores, pretty much like Mobile Street area. And so down there, you can easily get over that sandbar. Some people have to wade out to do it. If you have a proper tackle, you can cast a rod easily over that bar. And so those bigger reds are going to be on that backside in that deeper water 9 times out of 10. Not that they couldn't get up shallower. Same thing with the whiting. The whiting will be, up close for the most part, but you will catch some good ones out further too. So and then your slot reds and smaller ones, they'll be in those troughs up close this time of year, pretty much now for the rest of the summer, chasing bait fish and various other baits that they're eating. And you can catch them on artificial lures, different top waters like a Zara Spook or various twitch baits like a Lure MR17 or unfair rip and slash, anything like that works great for speckled trout, redfish in close in those troughs. Nice.
About Spanish mackerel and things like that, those starting to show up pretty good?
Tons of Spanish. It just depends on where you're at, which is like anything, our surf fishing here, the difference between like, Orange Beach, Perdido, Quayside compared to Fort Morgan is night and day. But there are tons of Spanish. Pretty much everywhere I've seen or everywhere I've been to, there's been a good number of Spanish. The key on those is they're right now, especially they're eating tiny little bait fish. There's some guys catching them on shrimp and stuff. They're eating tiny little bait fish, around an inch, if that. So finding the proper lure to throw at them is a big deal. You can throw all the big gotcha plugs that weigh an ounce, the big spoons at them you want. You're probably going to end up catching ladyfish and bluefish, which is fine. But if you're really going to key in on the Spanish, you got to find a small jigging spoon, and there's no particular brand, but something that's really heavy but really small profile. I like if you can go to Sam's in Orange Beach, they sell these hoagie jigs, and I got pictures of them next to the bait fish that those Spanish spit up, and they're around an inch long, and they weigh, I can't remember exactly what they weigh, but they're like probably around 3/4 of an ounce, and on the proper rod, man, they will sling a mile, and you just burn them jokers back. And they're a killer on Spanish, and there's times of the year, offshore with the bonita, even get picky, and they're keyed in on that tiny bait. That little hoagie jig will do some work on them.
Yeah, Dustin, speaking of Spanish mackerel, a couple of times I've been out to Dixie Bar trying to target big schools of bull reds out there. Man, I usually can throw anything at them and they're going to eat it when they're schooled up like that out there. But I've really been using the little slick that Pure Flats makes. And I've been noticing we've been catching a lot of Spanish mackerel, like almost the Spanish mackerel a little too fast to be able to get your jig down in front of the redfish or whatever. And it's the same deal. It looks like a little, like a little glass minnow or anchovy. And I've noticed that too. Like what you're talking about, they're spitting up those little minnows. So I think you're right on key right there with dialing the bait size down, because that's definitely what they're feeding on.
Yeah, it's something that you got to pay attention to, and like whether you're beach trout fishing or whatever it may be, if those trout are keyed in on croakers, or say some of them are even eating whiting or big LYs, mullet, whatever it may be. Or some of them are eating smaller LYs and pogies, like even on your twitch baits, sometimes they're going up a size. It might be more the size bait they're eating, or it could just be that you're making them angry. They think they find it competition that something else is eating, that those small bait fish,
right?
Or you're just pissing them off just by being present. I've always have confidence in small baits. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I'm, fly fishing or whatever, trout fishing, I know big baits work. Small fish will even eat big baits. I would rather throw something smaller, and you can catch anything. That little hoagie jig and spoon. I've caught big red snapper to, big triggerfish to you name it, jigging that little thing over structure and all that. Not really trying to do that, but just kind of doing it by accident. And so a small bait fish, really makes difference. It's something that everything eats.
Yeah, for sure, man. Elephants eat peanuts, as they say. Right? It doesn't matter. Dusty, I've been seeing a ton of hard head action on the book of faces over there and on the media socials. Is there anything you can do this time of year? I know it's that time of year, but is there anything you can do from the surf to clean up that bite?
You mean catch less hardheads?
Yeah, catch less hardheads, less desirables.
The main thing that stay away from wherever beach bum's fishing. He's usually on them.
Oh man!
Probably the best thing is to look for clear water. It doesn't have to be crystal clear like the Bahamas, but that brown colored water. There's not that there won't be other fish in there, but they're usually the catfish are a little more prevalent. The catfish aren't hunters; they're scavengers. So that dirty water turns them into a hunter, and they're going to just be out in force chasing baits. One thing that'll help is vary your bait. In shrimp, you're usually going to have problems with catfish. Fishbites usually not half as bad as you would with shrimp. Sometimes sand fleas, the catfish won't touch them. Sometimes they're all over them, and stuff like that just changes every day. Always have a variety. Like I'll always have some fresh dead shrimp in the cooler, but I always have fish bites too. I always have sand fleas, in the rake. Just kind of change stuff up just to try to get away from them. Even though color floats on your rig, sometimes I'll change. Like I'll notice sometimes it's dirty water. If I use orange, the catfish are all over it. If I go to white, they won't touch it. Or vice versa. And it could just be something like, there's no rhyme or reason exact, like, hey, this is the gospel kind of thing. It's just something you got to experiment with and find out what works for you. But if you're having issues like with catfish and you just can't get away from them, drive down the beach a few miles and look for that greener tint water. It doesn't have to be crystal clear, but greener tint is a lot better than brown, mud tint. Anytime you got brown or mud water, you're going to have a lot of rays, a lot of catfish, a lot of pinfish and croakers. That's the fresh water coming out of the bay. And so those other bait fish and stuff will follow it and, kind of expand their little range of where they're living to feed.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. I just figured I wouldn't be the only one with that question this weekend. I've been seeing a bunch of it. So, all right, man. We got to get that tip from you. This week's onshore tip is brought to us by KillerDock. Today, we want to talk about a common form of dock dysfunction: skinny dock, narrow finger piers, catwalks around boat slips, even bulkheads. If you've got a skinny dock and you know it and you're not happy about it, but what can you do? Nothing until now. KillerDock fish cleaning stations are offset and can enhance your skinny dock so that you can have the fish cleaning station you've always dreamed of. If you're suffering from skinny dock, check out the full line of natural dock enhancement fish cleaning stations at KillerDock.com. What you think for a tip this week, Captain Dustin?
Kind of getting back into that catfish thing, something that helps this time of year, and this is from now all the way pretty much until I'd say September or October. As it gets warmer, the presence of some people call nuisance fish, trash fish, or just, I don't mind really any of them except for the catfish. But, you got more ladyfish and more Spanish and hardtails and juvenile sharks and all that stuff out and about in the surf, and even catfish. I'll usually recommend going up a little bit in leader size. I'm not talking about going from 20 to 50, But, even take it up from 20 to 25 or 30 pound fluorocarbon, a little less visible, so they say. But it gives you a little more abrasion resistance against those ladyfish and stuff like that. If you're out on the beach and you're just catching one after another ladyfish, they don't have razor sharp teeth, but they do have very abrasive teeth like a tarpon. So, you wouldn't go tarpon fishing using 20 pound mono. You would use, for big tarpon, you would use like 80 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you a little more abrasion resistance. So you're not going through as many hooks and as many pompano rigs if you're tying your own. If you are buying some, then, you can maybe look to find some with some 25 pound or even contact, whatever guy. There's some local guys that tie good rigs, and there's people from all over. But if you're buying them from a single person that ties them, contact them and say, hey, can you make me some with 30 pound instead of 20 pound? And, you shouldn't see much difference or get less bites, but it'll help you save a few hooks and a few rigs down the line. Just that little bit of a thicker line will definitely go a long way.
Definitely makes sense, man. Them 2 feet critters will get you.
Yeah, those ladyfish they are just tackle busters, man. They absolutely just wreck your tackle. I know, just about every time we catch one, I've got to cut the hook off and retie. You know what I mean? Cut off anywhere from about probably 4 to 6 inches a leader, man, because they absolutely just trash it.
Yep.
Our flats over here, we pretty much have to use. You don't have to. I like to use kind of 20 pound mono or fluorocarbon for pretty much everything I do. But like you get in this time of year on the flats, I mean, I'll go up to like 30, sometimes 40, depending on how thick the ladyfish and bluefish are, even trout fishing, just because, I mean, I don't want to give them $30, $40 of plugs a day. I mean,
right.
They just run through it. They will definitely run through it. So, yeah, it helps. Y'all don't want to know what I call ladyfish. I don't think I can say it on here. But,
good to hear things are heating up down there.
Yeah, guys, absolutely.
People and the fish, man. We appreciate the report. And if people want to book a trip with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
You can call me at 678-897-0167, and my Facebook page is Shore Thing Fishing, SHORE. And
awesome.
we got some next few weeks is pretty full, but after that, opening back up. So.
Yeah, good deal, buddy. Well, good to hear from you, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again for the report.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Take
See
care.
you, bud.
All right, man. It's glad to hear that the onshore stuff is heating up over there. We're going to head on down to my favorite realm, the offshore report. Let's see what Captain Devon Potts has been up to on the sea mixer. What'd you say, Captain Devon?
What's going on, man?
Haven't heard from you in a while, man. You've been MIA. Must be the winter slums.
Yeah, that and quarantine.
That's right.
Had us down a little bit, but we're getting after it. It's the only sane thing going on is to get offshore and get away from all the masks and the oddball
no
stuff
doubt about
going
that.
on today.
Well, tell us about your weekend, man. What'd y'all catch?
Well, we went out Friday evening, went and got in there and rubbed elbows amongst the Memorial Day crowd, and we stopped and I think we fished at Appomattox rig and caught a few tunas there, chunking, and then fished the next day and fished up till about 1 or 2 o'clock and had one big bite from a tuna fish and we came tight on them, and they're a pretty big one, but we never really got a hook in them. So we just pulled the hooks, and that was my story for that particular trip. And we caught a limit snapper, of course, on the way home. So
Nice. Snapper season for sure.
Snapper for the win.
No doubt. Ceviche.
Devin, is it all been like a chunk bite out there amongst everybody that's fishing?
I would kind of say, there's been a lot of 40 to 50 pounders out there at some of these rigs. I think, Appomattox has been pretty steady for the most part all fall, winter, and into spring. The biggest thing is now that we've got a few tuna fish around here, people, we always try to just keep as many of them as we're going to whatever use and not kill 20 of them, So I think as long as I think pretty much everybody's on the same page with that, because you hear a lot of complaining about when they're not here, they're in Ziploc bags headed north,
Right.
So that's kind of the general consensus. But I think, it kind of comes and goes with other fishing. And I think we've seen, you're seeing, finally seeing a pretty decent tuna fish rally now. I mean, I think the Memorial Day tournament, I think a Quick Time had a 180 pounder or 170 pounder, and then Rainy Girl had a 170 or something, and then looked like another boat had a 160. So those are pretty respectable fish there for a tournament.
They earned it.
Yeah, they did. And I think, that's pretty good. So
Whenever y'all were,
good to see those.
yeah,
What
it
is
is. Good to see. No, it's just great to see those numbers. We were talking about that in the last couple of shows.
Man.
Finally, some tuna starting to show up in some decent numbers.
Yeah, man.
How did you guys, whenever you guys got out to the Appomattox, did you get a decent report, or did you guys just tuna there?
Man, I just kind of just started there just because it kind of made sense with my time, and just historically there had been a decent
No doubt
report from there.
It's been hot.
Start there. And
Appomattox has been hot since what, October or November?
Yeah, I think it's been pretty good, and still a good rally of bluefins out there, man. Still hearing a bunch of bluefin stories,
Really?
Yeah, I think during the OVBC, I think 2 weeks ago, I think the Cotton Patch had a doubleheader of them, and then this weekend there was boats that caught them. And
Golf's tapped out, right? We've reached our quota.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're maxed out.
That's a line
Take
cutter.
A picture and let her rip.
That's a
line cutter.
Yeah, I keep seeing these videos from a boat out of Texas called the Quantified, I believe. They
Yeah, man, those guys are kick ass.
Man, their videos are badass. And
they smash.
It looked
Justin Drummond, man, he's a good dude. He's a good fisherman.
They look like they smashed 2 good ones on their last trip within the past 2 weeks or so. That's wild, though.
I think the Texas fish. I think those guys, man, they got on a string of catching bluefins over there, and it seemed like the quota went away quick.
So, I was about to say they called.
I think when they showed up over there, they did. I mean, it's pretty much gone. I think one showed up in Destin that I saw, and then there was 4 or 5 showed up in Texas.
Real quick.
Boom.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool story about the guys in Destin who caught that one in Destin. They fought the fish for 4 hours off of a center console, and max the drag out. We're hand lining the thing up from 150 feet down basically to get it in the boat. They couldn't get it coming in, but
yeah, I can imagine everybody's probably whipped.
I'm sure. Did you guys see any?
No, I was just saying, speaking of center consoles, we also found one of those floating upside down Friday on our way out. So,
oh no!
Everybody needs to check their bilge pumps and all that stuff before they set sail for opening snapper season, because snappers won on one boat, particularly this past Friday.
You don't want
opening day.
You don't want the snappers to win.
No, you don't ever want them to win. You want to be on top.
That's right. Literally, actually on top, floating.
Yes.
Nah, I agree with you, man. I don't want to be light of that. We talk about safety all the time on here and preaching about checking your bilge pumps and checking your wires and checking your batteries and
high water alarms, man.
That's right. No
Best
doubt.
money you'll ever spend. So,
did you guys see any of the stick nose species out there?
Did not see any. Did not get a shot. Didn't hear many shots.
Molly saw a couple shots.
Yeah, man, they had a good weekend. So, which is pretty standard on that rig. So they
they fish a lot.
They did pretty good. They fish a lot. Yep.
Oh, I did want to ask you, everything south of here still in blue water? No blue water issues?
Yeah, I think I ran across when I was coming home. Horn Mountain was in blue water, and right just south of Ram Powell was where it kind of started mixing in the blue green. But yeah, it was beautiful at Horn Mountain. I mean, just really, really pretty. So.
What about mahi, man? The fish so nice they named
Caught
it
a turkey.
Did you?
I did.
Nice.
Yep. Got a turkey.
I just figured as warm as it was for so long, I thought the dolphin would show up super early and super strong, which I guess it's still a little bit.
It seems to be, feast or famine with those, because usually when we have the insane amount of grass, which thank God we don't this year, but
no doubt.
Usually when we have the grass, those kind of come with that. But we haven't. I mean, there's been a few fish around. There's been a few mahis caught. I think 35 pounds won first place over here the other day. So that's not terrible, but
it's not terrible.
Those things there again, they're kind of dependent on the sargassum a little bit, and so we'll get a flurry of them and
find a rip somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, man. You have the Hey Cap question this week.
Oh, joy.
This week's Hey Caption is brought to us by Foster Contracting. The recent thunderstorms that have been producing wind and hail in the area may have damaged your home's roof. The certified roofing pros at Foster Contracting offer free roof inspections, and if your roof has received damage, most homeowners will have little or no cost out of pocket when going through your insurance. If you're looking for quality construction with a dependable, licensed, and certified fortified roofing professional, give the Fortified Roofing Pros a call at 251-973-9999. They're a family-owned business that is big enough to get the job done, but small enough to care. Remember to support the local businesses that make your local podcast possible, and check them out at fortifiedroofingpros.com. All right, man. This week's Hey Cap question comes from Joseph Lester Simmons. Is that the fifth? Is that what that is?
No, that's the fourth. That's the fourth.
Sorry, I'm not good with Roman numerals.
Well, I'm the fourth, so I would know. I would know.
Avi, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that, Joseph. Joseph Lester Simmons the fourth says, "Hey, Cap." He thought he'd mix it up a little bit this week with the offshore question, which I appreciate. I like this one for Captain Devon. He says, "I see a lot of guys lose billfish in the first 2 minutes of the strike or after the strike. How do you maneuver your vessel to combat the fish throwing the hook?" What you think, man? I've seen you do a little wheel work every now and again. I'm curious about this answer.
Yeah.
What's your
also
trick?
Lost my fair share within the first 2 minutes. So,
Well, just
I'm in that crowd.
Well, walk us through it. You get a bite.
You see a lot of guys. All right, so you get a bite. It depends on kind of what you're doing, right?
Sure. Yeah. Depends
if
on whether
you're
you're
lure
trolling or
fishing,
live baiting.
If you're
maybe
trolling. Yeah, if you're trolling and you're trucking along 7.5, 8 knots, I always like to turn the boat into the bite because I'm trying to engage the fish. We get a bite, the rigger comes down. You never know, there may be another one with it. You may get that one on and see another and go, oh God, we're gonna get that. So it's just an instinct when you're trolling to turn into the bite. And I never come off of my troll speed. I just keep everything the exact same until we get everything tight. We're good. Okay, we're on. And in some fish, like lure fishing, you're so dependent on the bite. And if it's a big crash bite, if he's gonna, you're trying to catch a fish that's got 2 feet or better of bone in the way. So that thing really screws up your hook ratio, right?
Oh yeah.
So if you get into that bone, it's kind of difficult, and your odds of losing it in the first 2 minutes are really more to do with your bite and your hook set and your hookup at the bite more so than it does the boat handling.
100% agree.
I like to put it about 10 pounds because if you can think about dropping a 10-pound weight, and having an 8.0 or 9.0 or 10.0 hook, 10 pounds, you should be able to come tight, especially with the boat going the other way, right?
I was just about to say with a 100,000-pound boat going the other way, or 100 tons going the other way.
You figure. I see a lot of people though, they gas on it and this, that, and the other bite. I don't think any of that's necessary. If you're lure fishing, you're either on and you've got a good bite and it is buried and you're going to have to work to get that hook out or cut the hook set. I would say this more so than anything, keeping good communication with your angler, making sure everybody stays tight, everything. And until you can get up to that fish or you can see where that hook is when he jumps, then you can go, okay, well, we've got this thing, but, we've got a good hooks, maybe hooks buried up in his, upper jaw or whatever, we're in good shape. Sometimes you snoot them. Sometimes fish come up there, just plays cat and mouse and you snoot them and the fish points to the boat. You're great and you're on as long as he's going away from the boat, but you turn, the fish turns and comes at you and you pull it right off of the nose. And I've seen that happen a bunch of times, so it's all dependent really, I think, on the bite, especially with a lure. Now with a live bait and a circle hook, man, you're either on or you're not. And the only scenario I can tell you, most of the time, if you got him on a circle hook, you got to really work at it to screw it up. If that hook's buried in the corner of his mouth like it's supposed to be, you can just about
put your equipment pressure on him. Right.
Yeah, you can just have an angler that doesn't know anything and can let the line, you hear a lot of stories about, the guy didn't reel, line gets slack, and, this, that, and that. But that comes too with the guy driving the boat. You see the guy's gassed or you see he's having trouble reeling, you just knock it ahead.
Bumper ahead a little bit.
You see a lot of people, get aggressive wanting to drive backwards. Well, that's not always the case. Not always there's a time and a place for that too, right?
100%, yep.
So I would say, if you're live bait fishing and you got them on a circle hook, I've seen a scenario where they get choked on it, and then you come tight and you really shove the drag up to them and they end up puking the bait out, or the bridle didn't break for some reason, and they end up pulling the bait out of his throat.
But you never had him hooked anyway, so.
But you never had him hooked in the first place. You were just throwing him around. I mean, I know the cotton patch a few years ago had one that was almost 900 pounds, I think 899, and the thing like gagged on it and swallowed it, and that was good enough to get him to the boat and get a gap.
Wow, he was never hooked.
Never hooked.
Wow, that's insane.
That's something I always kind of say about, or always, I guess, observed about a lot of watching a captain maneuver the boat is the captain. It's your job. Whoever's driving the boat, watch the rod, watch the line, watch all that kind of stuff, and help the angler keep the fish tight. You know what I mean? If he,
that's right,
like you said,
and there's a lot of things you can do maneuver in the boat. You see a fish 9 times out of 10. If you survive that first flurry of jumps, 9 times out of 10, he's just going to go down sea and just tail down sea. And in my opinion, the more drag you put to him, now lure fishing, some people, sometimes people like to, I know a lot of people that pull 25 pounds of drag at strike and they have a tremendous amount of success. And they'll shove them up to 30-something maybe. But I know boats like Relentless Pursuit, a couple other guys that use that amount of drag, and I mean, the results speak for themselves. And so I guess there's 2 ways to look at that. You either that much poundage, I guess you're either on and you got a good hook set, or you're not, and you're not.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that, man. I think it depends on the drag too, as far as whether you're fishing with a meat bait or a plastic bait, in my opinion, as well.
Yeah.
I think what I'm gonna take away from most of what you just said there, Devon, is going back to the question that Joseph asked there, is a lot of it's just luck. You know what I'm saying? Luck on how the fish gets hooked to whether on a lure, right? Or just like you said too, with a circle hook, he's either hooked or he's not. You either got him or you didn't. You know what I mean?
And if you've got him, most of the time, I'd say 75% of the time, if you've got him, it doesn't matter. I had a double header on last year, and we just backed the drag off to like 10 or 12 pounds. Caught the first one, and I think we had that thing out there what looked to be a mile, and caught the first one. And when we got done with that one, we went and caught the other one, and that thing jumped around in circles. You got to think too, once you get strung out there, the drag and the line.
Oh my gosh, the belly of the line is so much pressure. So much pressure.
So the more you get out there, the less drag you want to apply. You'll break your main line at some point if you keep it up that high.
And two, the less line you have on the reel, the more drag you're actually putting on the reel as well. Isn't that correct?
No doubt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The only thing I have to say is I agree 100% with you about lure fishing and losing the fish within the first 3 minutes. The 100% key, in my opinion, is keep the line tight. You have to have your angler 100% ready. Whenever you get that bite and other people are clearing lines, that angler needs to be on that reel, keeping it tight no matter what.
That's right. No matter what. And if you see the fish, if you're really close to the fish, all right, and I'm talking about like really close, like within 100 to 150 yards, and you see the fish jumping at you and you want to shower down on it, to get away from them and get more belly, that's cool too. But most of the time, once they're out there and they're jumping around and they're doing whatever, you're kind of at the mercy of the fish. You're really at the mercy of the bite. As long as you're tight, as long as everything's good. I mean, the one lure bite that I'll never forget, we were fishing Biloxi one year, and this was god awful. I don't know, probably that year Butch, you came and fished with me, somewhere around that timeline on the old boat. But we had a big flatline bite, and I mean a big one, like you flushed the toilet, dropped a Volkswagen in the water. I could see the fish swirl and eat the bait, like a big one. We had it on 130, of course, and the fish was headed straight for a supply boat. So we shoved the drag up. We got like 40-something pounds. I'm like, fish ain't turning. Finally, the rod goes limp. I was like, dang. I just walked back past. That was a big fish. Sucks. We lost it. Well, next thing I know, the line just goes right past the boat. Oh, God, we're back on again, So what happened was he felt the pressure. He decided, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go down.
I'm going to go the other way.
Yeah, and we didn't know it. And then we spun around and chased it for 45 minutes and ended up opening an 11-aught. So
that's crazy.
Had it hooked in the tip of the hook. There's another thing. You get hooked you don't get that hook buried up in there towards the shank. You're liable to open a hook or liable to, I mean, there's just a million scenarios. And, marlin, like I said, if they didn't have the bill in the way, it would be a whole lot easier to catch them. But
that's the fun of it.
Cap, we appreciate the good report and going in depth with us there on the Hey Cap question. That was some really good info. I think a lot of our listeners really going to get a lot out of that, man. But we appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for the offshore report, man. Hey, I know you sell some boats down there with A&M Yacht in Orange Beach.
Oh yeah.
You guys got anything hot going on?
Yeah, we've got a 52 Davis that's got a pair of 3406E Capts in it.
Nice.
It's a really nice boat. It's got Seakeeper, new electronics, new teak, all that stuff. It's just a really comfortable Express. And then we got a 41 Scarborough that's just a cherry. It's beautiful. It's one of the prettiest bridge boats, small bridge boats you'll ever see. It's just really, really noticeable. It's you see it coming, it's like
it's a looker.
It's a head turner for sure. So
good.
That's awesome.
Good. Yeah, man. If people
nice
want to list something with you or get in touch with you about one of those vessels, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
251-379-6005.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. So
sweet.
And you're with A&M Yacht Sales in Orange Beach, correct?
That's right.
All right, cool.
All right, Devon. We appreciate the offshore report, man. As always, make sure you keep whacking them. We'll talk to you
buddy. We'll keep trying. That's for sure.
Thanks, Cap.
All right, buddy.
That's a great Hey Cap question, Joseph. We appreciate that. Joseph's going to get a prize pack from the Slick Lure. Joseph, make sure you email us at alabama@bestfishingreport.com to redeem your Slick Lures. You guys make sure you send us your Hey Cap questions to alabama@bestfishingreport.com, or make sure you're following us on our Facebook page as well, Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report, for all kinds of good posts from our captains, from our guides, from everywhere. And we also post some Hey Cap question posts on there all the time, and you can put in your Hey Cap questions in the comments, and if we pick it, then you get your Slick Lure prize package from Pure Flats. Man, some good stuff from old Captain Devon right there. That dude's got some wheel time behind him as far as experience goes, man. I fished on a party boat with Captain Devon probably around, I guess I was in 10th or 11th grade in high school whenever he was running charter boats out of Dauphin Island.
Mm-hmm.
Killed some fish with that dude. I did some freelance deckhand work with him whenever he was running this, his old sea mixer. I hadn't fished on the new one yet, but he knows his stuff. I like listening to Captain Devon.
Yeah, I like listening to him too. Like you said, you can tell he's got some wheel time. He knows exactly what he wants to do.
Oh yeah.
Just has a good feel for it. You know what I mean? And I tell you, when you get to that point and you hear these kind of people talk, you can tell that experience is just second to none. You know what I mean? We can sit here and talk about this stuff till we're blue in the face, but nothing trumps that experience, and that feel, just having a feel for what's going on.
Second nature.
That's right.
All right, man, let's round this thing off. Yeah, let's head on down to inshore. Let's see what my buddy's doing down there. Captain Richard Rutland with cold-blooded fishing. How we doing today, Captain Richard?
Oh, hey, guys. How we doing today?
What you been up to, man? Tell us a fish story other than the snapper killing you did on Saturday.
Well, man, the inshore bite has been really, really good for me. Speckled trout are really doing well. Kind of had a couple of funky days around the full moon. I can't remember. That was like about 2 weeks ago or so, but I can't remember if it was before or after, but on this backside of it, on this new moon phase we're on right now, the fish have been eating very well. I've just had some incredible trips. I really have no complaints about the fishing. The only complaints I have about have been in weather. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I've been combating that as well as I can. It's kind of hard to combat the rainstorms and stuff, but we've been having lots of east and southeast wind, which I love that. And I've been going down the Mississippi Sound quite a bit and finding some good protection down that area has been very good to me.
You still fishing shallow water, or are you moving to that deeper stuff yet?
No, I haven't gone deep yet. I keep carrying a couple of slip cork rods, thinking I'm going to start needing to fish some of those deep water wrecks or rigs, structure like that down there. And the shallow water thing just keeps on clicking away for me. So I'm just gonna lay with it until I have to go do something different. You know what the golden rule is? Don't leave fish to find fish. So
amen.
I've been trying to lay with it, and it's been very good. It's mostly been like a live shrimp deal. It's getting harder and harder to catch fish on the voodoo shrimp, and I think that's just because there's a lot of bait that's plentiful around. We've been seeing some bird schools. stuff of that nature, which shows you that just tells you a lot of shrimp are starting to show up in our system, and they're going to be a little bit more picky because there's a lot more options. So they're not as hard up for finding some forage as they were a couple of weeks ago or even a month ago. So
right, the buffet's coming out.
That's right, the buffet's out there. There's lots on the line.
Lots of options.
Yep, there's a lot on the line right now on the serving line. So,
well, I assume it's still, whenever you're targeting these fish and you kind of say in the sound, you're not doing deep stuff yet. I assume it's still a shell bottom, grass bottom. Is that kind of what you're targeting, or what are you looking for right now?
Yeah, I've been finding a lot of actually the nicer size fish that I'm finding right now. And actually, I say nicer size fish, like within the past 2 weeks, we've finally been catching some nice, like 22 to 24 inch fish, which has they've been a little bit scarce for me, but I'm starting to find that. And the one thing I've kind of really keyed in on that is grass. Anywhere where I'm finding some real nice grass bottom right now. And I think that's just a result of those better size fish being in shallow water around, like what we always say about when they like to get their spawning activity going on, they like to be over grass or sand or shell, one of those three aspects. And you have both of those when you're around grass. Most of the time, if you find grass bottom, it's usually sandy for whatever reason. It's usually sandy because that grass has got something nice to dig into, to root into. So you're finding those two things. I'm really finding some nice size and very plentiful numbers of fish around grass. So when you're out and about running around, you get a nice bluebird day and some clear water.
Pay attention.
Start paying attention to where that grass is. And, I would come back and fish it for sure. You can't always fish it right when you find it, of course, but come back and fish it. Those little areas have been key for me lately.
And your redfish, the redfish seem to be mixed in. You kind of targeting those separate?
No, they've been mixed in. They've been mixed in fairly well because a lot of that grass is usually associated, closer to some banks, some marsh banks and stuff like that. So they've been mixed in. Talking about redfish, there's been a nice bite out on Dixie Bar right now of your big breeder size bull reds. Had several days where we've gone out there and caught anywhere from 10 to 16 fish.
That'll make you sore right there.
Oh, yeah, and just in a short amount of time. And they've been fairly easy to find. Just pay attention to the sign. You see birds working out there in an area. And particularly, you're going to find them out there. There's a lot of troughs and bars and stuff. And you're usually going to find them right on the edges of those bars in a trough. So I'm looking for birds, looking for bait flipping, and then looking for slicks. Those redfish slick up very good, just like the trout do. You get out there and you start getting a whiff of some fish, smelling them, or even if just see a couple slicks. And a mistake, I wouldn't say it's a mistake. The other day I saw a couple of slicks right off the bat, and I got real excited and started fishing. And then I started smelling the slicks again, and I knew that I hadn't gone upwind far enough or up current far enough. So when you get there, and you start seeing that fishy activity, make sure you can kind of follow them because they're usually kind of sitting in one little area. Yeah. Feeding up and down the backside of a trough. So start looking for that kind of stuff. It's been all plastic for me too. Have not thrown a single live bait at a red out there. Been doing real good on plastic.
Just grubs?
Yeah, I've been using like a
man, when those things get like that, you could throw a piece of tire out there, I think.
I always say you can put a piece of beef jerky on there and catch one,
Yep.
But,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So sounds like now you're looking for birds, bars. What else you say? Birds, bars,
bait, and slicks.
That's right. Bait, birds, bars will equal bull reds. How about that?
That's right. And if you get lucky enough, man, a lot of times once you kind of get in the area, sometimes you can see the schools. They'll almost start floating towards the surface to an extent, and you can see the schools. And that's when it's fun. When you can see them, and when you see them, the thing you want to do is don't get too excited and go crashing straight into the school. I like to go make a big loop around the school, get upwind to where you can have the wind at your back, or you can make a nice long cast and get everybody kind of ready. You know what I mean? Everybody's tied on, everybody's got a grub on, everybody's rigged, and then make these nice long casts down to the school of fish, and then everybody can hook up. And get to doing what I call the Dixie Bar Shuffle, which is you got to do the dance.
Chaos.
Oh yeah, up and over and around people. It's going to get around the trolling motor or the big motor. And somebody's line's going to get crossed, and you got to figure out which way to go. That's the fun part of it, right? Oh yeah, there.
That's fun, man. Multiple hookups are always fun.
Oh yeah.
What about triple tail, man? I heard you catch some blackfish. Let's talk about those a minute.
Oh man, blackfishing has been absolutely. This has been one of the best years I've seen so far. In a couple of years. Last year I thought was a really good year, and this year's even better. I feel like, man, it has been really good. There's been a lot of fish around. I've been catching a lot of my fish in tide lines this year. I'm notorious for cruising like 60 miles worth of crab pots, looking at finding fish under crab pots, and that's still working to an extent. I have been finding these tide lines and just getting on the tide line, getting up as high as you can, just keeping the boat in gear, going 4, 5, 6 miles an hour, kind of keeping it slow and keeping your eyes peeled and picking them off. And little tip I'll throw in on that. These tide line fish, for whatever reason, they're usually not. Sometimes they're on some structure in the tide line, like a log or a 5-gallon bucket or something like that. And then other times floating there. And those floating fish seem to be way more spooky than the fish that are on some type of structure. So when you see those fish, I like to throw just a free line shrimp at those fish versus using a popping cork. The advantage to using a cork is you can make a longer, better, more accurate cast because you're throwing a little bit more weight. So with a free line, it's a little bit more tricky. You might want to use a little bit bigger shrimp, lighter line, that kind of deal, so you can make a nice long cast to the fish. But they seem to be spookier. And that free line seems to be more effective than throwing a cork at them. A lot of times I see the cork and they head for the hills. Yeah. So, I guess those fish just don't have anything to hide behind. They just they don't, you know what I mean? Have any structure. Yeah, I feel like some of the fish you find on structure, they got their eyeballs. I feel like if they've got their eyeballs underneath something, they think you can't see them. That's right. You can't see me. That's what's kind of funny about them, man. But well, that's a good report, man. Fish is heating up, man. That's good. I'm glad to hear those speckled trout are starting to show up. Bird schools are showing up. Bull reds. I need to get out there and pull some of them bull reds. It'd be good for me. Good for my back for sure. It sure makes for that's something I always like to do about like the 10 or 11 o'clock time frame after we've already kind of worn ourselves out catching speckled trout. If we've had a good morning, you know, fireworks, and then go out there and kind of top it off with some bull reds, man. There's nothing better than that. Finish off with fireworks. That's right. I do it all in light tackle. Just the same rods we're using to catch trout, I used to catch bull reds, and that's even more fun trying to catch a 25, 30-pound fish on, your trout tackle, your real light stuff. So that's where are you out? Well, that's a great report, man. We got to get that tip from you before we I can't let you go, but you co-host them, but you know what I mean. Oh, yeah. This week's inshore tip is brought to us by Hilton's Offshore Charts. The days of heading out blindly looking for fish areas are pretty much over with. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. The most recent highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore trip. Make the choice that professional captains all over the Gulf of Mexico make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check out hiltonsoffshore.com. What you think for a tip this week, Cap? Like I was talking about earlier, fishing over a lot of these grass flats that I've been on. The fish really seem to be on two types of bait right now. There seems to be, like we were talking about in the report a minute ago, there's a lot of shrimp around right now. So there seem to be on shrimp, and I've been having a lot of success on mullet imitations. I have not thrown like a live mullet at a fish yet, but I know they'd probably crush it right now because I can catch fish really good on slick lures right now and top waters, but I have thrown live croakers in front of a bunch of these fish several times. They're not reacting to it. Croaker should be on right now, right? That should be. I would really think so. And I'm sure there's some people out there that are just wrecking them on croakers right now, but I have not. So I'm almost taking croakers out of the equation when I'm here recently. I'm still going to keep periodically trying them. When we catch them on a live shrimp, I'm going to be throwing them in the live well and throwing them out there every once in a while just to see how they're reacting to them. But, I would just think right now you get around some oyster shell and some current, around some fish that you would be wrecking them on croakers, and that has not been the case. But they're really reacting good to like those slick lures, and top waters have been just amazing. and heck, for that matter, almost been catching them better on those two than the shrimp sometimes. So that's just something to look forward to, you know, in your next couple of trips out or whatever, you know. Yeah. Maybe keep trying the croakers here or there. I'm still going to be doing that, but
yeah, it's just something you've noticed in the past couple of trips you've made. Yeah, I like that, man.
Something I've really picked up on. So, and you know me and that slick lure, so I've been just tickled to death about that. They've been chewing that thing up, you know. But and heck, I know there's a day coming they're gonna get off of that and want those croaks again. So, and of course, I love catching some fish on a croaker. There's nothing like feeling that thump.
Yep, I like that free line for sure. Any particular color slick lure they've been eating up?
Kind of go back to what I maybe was talking about several months ago when we were throwing this thing a lot in the rivers and whatnot. The two things one thing I've really learned about color selection with the slick is the clearer the water I'm in, I like to throw the more solid colors, you know? So like, you know, your cool beans, your goblin, the bayou blues.
I like the Bayou Blues one. I like the greenie too, man.
Yeah, I hadn't really thrown the greenie.
You ever had any luck with that one?
Well, I just haven't. I don't have any. And then
I know a guy. I'll get you a pack.
And then when you get into a little bit more off-colored water, you know, maybe it's a little, I wouldn't say cloudy, but you know, chalky looking or something, a little bit dirtier. I like to go to that pearl and chartreuse, pink and chartreuse, the cold night, which is the cool beans with the chartreuse tail. Having that breakup of that color really seems to do well. But man, my two, I would say my three hottest colors right now are going to be, because the water's been clearer, is cool beans, bayou blues, and goblin. Those three have been my go-tos here.
I think I got some of those for sure. I need to check.
Yeah, goblin's kind of that, you know, darker green looking lure that's got some chartreuse fleck in it. I really like that. And even as dark of a lure as that is, you hold that joker up to the sun, you can see right through it, you know. So it's I think once it gets in the water, it's just a silhouette to those fish. They see it strolling on by. It looks like something natural. They're going to hit it, you know. Yep. I think that's what's so great about those lures.
No doubt, dude. They're super, super lifelike. I like how soft they are too. And though it's a big profile bait, you can still get the hook, you know, in the fish's mouth whenever it hits it hard.
Oh yeah.
Last week, whenever I had Bobcat on, I had been fishing with him the day before, and man, we were wading, you know, in neck, chest deep water at some points, and you could see your feet. Is it still that clear in the sound and where you've been fishing over there?
Yeah, it has. The water clarity is really good for right now for our area. Almost, and I hate to say this.
I told Bobby that last week. I felt like they could see us coming for 500 yards. Whenever we were wading, you know.
I don't want to. As much as it irks me to say it, it's almost too clear sometimes, you know. And I've noticed that before, where this water gets real air clear, and I've had to step down in my leader size a little bit. You know, I generally use 20-pound leader for everything, and sometimes I'll have to step it down to 12 or even 10-pound.
Dang.
And I just tie like a short, what you call tippet, on the end of your whatever you're fishing, and then tie your lure on or your live shrimp. But I hate to say that behind all this
no doubt
terrible water we've had for all winter long.
We cannot complain about clear water. We'll
I'm not, clear. But any kind of dirty water you're seeing right now is 100% wind driven. You know, it's because we've had some good windy days or whatnot. That'd be the only dirty water you're going to see is driven by the wind. But for the most part, it has been absolutely beautiful out there. I'm just tickled to death.
It's that time of year, man. That's a great tip. We appreciate the report. All right, man. You know, we got to get what did you learn today? What did you learn is brought to us by MDH Foundation Repair. If your home is experiencing foundation problems, MDH Foundation Repair has the best solutions to fix it right and fix it now. The problems you see are only going to get worse, so don't deal with inefficient, unqualified, and pushy salesmen trying to sell you overpriced foundation repair products. The professionals at MDH Foundation will ensure you have a remarkable experience from the first meeting to the finished product. MDH Foundation Repair is redefining the construction industry and protect your most important asset, your home. Check them out at mdhfoundationrepair.com. Man, pretty good report this week. I'm pretty excited about the offshore stuff heating up. I mean, really, it sounds like everything's heating up.
It's that time of year. Of course, I feel like that's about the fifth time I've said that in the past 3 months. You know, it's that time of year, you know.
Well, finally, I mean, we earned it, you know.
Yeah, well, we're kind of getting around to where bottom fishing season's getting pretty popular. Seems like red snapper are firing up. The tuna have moved out to all the rigs. The billfish are starting to fire up a little bit. I didn't really get to look at all the results on the mobile big game, but from what Devon was saying, a couple boats did good on billfish.
Yep, I think tuna were pretty. I mean, it was rough as crap. First of all, I mean, a lot of fish. It was super rough. I bet those sea keepers earned their money this weekend. The Molly did really well. I think they killed one and tagged 3. They won top kill blue marlin and top tag and release. They did really, really well.
Man,
I know that's a good tournament. So yeah, but I mean, it's heating up. Marlin should start sparking off here pretty quick, and dolphin should start showing up. I know people still been catching some really nice wahoo. We need to go do that in the bay boat. That's your next trip.
Heck yeah.
Well, what'd you learn today, man?
I always kind of like to maybe compare on the reports, and the two things I really picked up on Dusty's report and on Devon's report. Something I always feel like I'm saying all the time is paying attention to what you're doing when you do it, when you have success, or when you don't have success, mainly. Yep. We always dwell, like we were talking about with Devon, I think we were kind of talking about that offline. Yeah, off the air, but you never remember the great ones that you caught. You always remember the ones that get away. And that's the ones that do make you a better fisherman, because
that's going to be ingrained in your brain forever, how you lost that fish.
That one sticks real hard, So Dusty is talking about, one thing he was talking about I really like was we were talking about the hardhead catfish, how to combat that. You know what I mean? Everybody wants to know how to keep a hardhead from not biting. And, he said, man, it was as simple as switching from orange to yellow on his fish bite, or getting out of that dirty water or something like that. Something I do when I'm fishing live shrimp under a cork is I just pop the cork a little bit more, almost kind of keep it moving. I notice like my customers on the boat, they kind of let their cork sit a little too long. They're the ones that are getting catfished, you know what I mean? So it takes a little bit of work, but keeping it away from them. And that's paying attention to what you're doing when you're doing it, and then the same thing there with Devon, as it relates to his Hey Capt question there, when we're talking about hookup ratios, is when you get a bite and you have some success, pay attention, you know what I mean? Don't be so excited about the success, but ask yourself the question, why did I get that bite? Why did I keep that fish on the line? Why? Keep asking yourself those questions, and you're going to be a hell of a lot better fisherman because of it, I think. Yep,
for sure. I really liked what Captain Devon was saying, and I certainly agree with him. You got to keep the line tight, man. That is even with any kind of fishing, inshore fishing, doesn't matter what you're doing, you've got to keep it tight. And it's even more finicky, like I was saying, whenever you got a 97-ton boat going 8 knots one way and a 500-pound fish going 30 mile an hour the other way. So it gets super duper tricky. And those guys just know what to do. As soon as the hookup goes, like you and I were just talking about it a minute ago, it's second nature for him. It's second nature for him to get a bite on the troll, and he turns to the port side to give it clean water. He doesn't want his prop wash on his fish on that bite. And if in case there's another one back there with him,
That's right.
Cleans up his bite immediately.
I do the same thing when I'm ling fishing. Get a ling on the line. The boat stays in gear the whole time. You know what I mean? All the way up to gaffing the fish. The boat stays in gear. Yep. That keeps the line tight. Like you said, keep the line tight. Got to keep the line tight.
Yep. I think I posted it back I guess it was about a year ago now, maybe a little earlier, but that one that me, you, and Corey caught when I'm up on the bow.
Yep.
You slam it in reverse. I might need to repost that one. I like that video.
That was a good video. All that fiberglass rattling back there in the back. I love
shaking
that.
Her down. That's right. Back her down, Cap. All right, man. I appreciate you co-hosting me this week as always, man. It's always good to have you on.
I enjoyed it, man. I'm always glad to be here.
I know you said that you were booking up, but if folks want to get in touch with you and book a trip, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Go to my Facebook page. It's Cold Blooded Fishing. I've got a website, coldbloodedfishing.com. We're on Instagram as well. Call me on the old telephone. Not that anybody actually calls anybody anymore, but I prefer to be called or text than emailed or something of that nature. But it's 251-459-5077 is my telephone number. Do have in the near future, I do not have anything available, but towards the end of June, I've got a handful of dates open, and then July I still have plenty of stuff open as well. So plenty of fishing to do.
No doubt. And I truly, you and I were talking earlier about the best way to catch fish around here and the best way to learn. And I'm a firm believer of booking with your local guides. How much time does it cut off of your learning curve? Me just fishing with you one day. How many years did it take you to learn what you're going to teach me in one day? Just little things that you don't even think of, man. I learned so much whenever I fished with you and Bobcat. I learned so much last week.
I remember being a kid, and my dad, we were offshore fishermen when I was young, and then we moved over to inshore, and we booked a trip with Captain Bobby, of all people. Man, we learned so much on the first trip and just went and mirrored everything he showed us. It wasn't like we had to steal any places to fish, what I mean?
You build on it. You build on what he showed you. You're like, oh, well, if this makes sense over here, then it makes sense over there.
That's right. I remember sitting there looking at a map and kind of game planning stuff, and go to areas we'd never been before. It was just, it was an adventure. Man. Yeah, it's a lot of fun
for sure.
All
right, folks. Yep, that's another great Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report. You guys, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you got 2 seconds, please take out your phone and go to iTunes and leave us a review. If you like it, if you don't like it, our reviews have been slacking over there. We really appreciate you guys going over there. Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report on iTunes. Just scroll down and leave us a review. We really appreciate it. If you guys want us to email you the podcast each week, head over to greatdaysoutdoors.com/ASFR, and we'll send you the new show each week in your email. You guys keep whacking them. We'll talk to you next week.
This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report has been brought to you by Fishbites. The bait stays on the hook and the fish stay on the bait. Check out the full line of Fishbite lures at fishbites.com. And also brought to you by Daycool Heating and Air, your home performance specialist. Contact them at 251-260-3858 or check them out online at www.daycoolair.com. License number AL07028.
Also brought to you by Coastal Conservation Association of Alabama. Check them out at ccaalabama.org. Also brought to you by Geico. Call Ron Davis, Geico agent, at 251-445-0053 or visit him online at geico.com/mobile-al. Also brought to you by Advanced Transmission in Spanish Fort. Give the professionals a call who have been trusted on the Gulf Coast for over 25 years at 251-626-6061 or check them out online at www.advanced-transmission.com.
This week's Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Angelo Depaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, your boating and beach property specialist. Check me out on Facebook at Angelo Depaola Realtor, the Coastal Connection, or call me direct at 850-287-3440.